Hello and welcome back to another video. First off, I hope you are all staying safe during this unknown period of isolation and quarantine. So first of all, I hope you're staying safe. Secondly, I wanted to make this video for people who couldn't get to open days and just for people who want to know more about university life because they couldn't make it to open days, they don't know anyone who's in university, and you just want to know a bit more about university life. My name is Charlie, I'm currently studying archaeology and history at Durham University. I want to tell you what you can expect to find in the work side of university life. I'm going to hopefully make this into a 3-part series. Firstly, I'm going to be focusing on work, so like what's different from school, what to expect, how you can prepare yourself. Secondly, about social life, and thirdly, more about my personal experiences at Durham. So the first thing that you'll notice when you go to university is the teaching format. Obviously at school you're used to lessons, and lessons are often with classes of maybe about 20 or 30 people, and you have a teacher at the front and they'll talk at you, they'll expect questions, answers, things like that. Whereas when you go to university, you're kind of shoved into these big lecture theatres. So lecture theatres are one of the main differences about university of how content is delivered. So you'll be sat in lecture theatres, some range from 5 people to 300 people, so they can really vary massively. Most of them will probably be pretty big, and that'll just be where one person stands at the front and they'll be an expert in their field and they'll tell you everything they know about a certain topic in about an hour or 2 hours. If it's 2 hours, you'll normally have a break in the middle. However, I'm not sure if that's true for all universities. The second form of teaching is through seminars and tutorials. A seminar is group-based learning. You'll often have a seminar leader who will ask you to do some reading beforehand. So for my history seminars, they'll often give me 100 pages or so. I'm pretty sure that's not normal for most subjects, so don't worry about that. You'll go into the seminar knowing some background about this subject, and it'll be more of an open discussion about a certain topic, more in depth from the lecture. You may have already gone over a certain topic in a lecture, and then the seminar takes that further and you go more in depth into the certain topic. Likewise, tutorials are very similar again, although with a tutorial it's a smaller group. Sorry, I didn't mention a seminar is normally a smaller group as well. You'll probably have a maximum of about 10 people, although this will vary by university to university. Likewise, tutorials are probably similar sized groups, and this is more of a lesson like you would know it from school, where you'd have someone standing at the front talking at you. They may ask questions, they may ask for interaction, and that's more of a tutorial. It's a more tutor-based questions and teaching. Those are the main forms of teaching in university, but there'll also be other forms of teaching as well. For example, if you do sciences, you may have labs, you may have practicals. I certainly have practicals, and I feel that these all vary based on your subject and your university, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about those, but they're pretty self-explanatory. And finally, the only other way I can think of off the top of my head is of field work and field trips. Obviously field trips, you just go on a trip. Often, I know, especially with Durham anyway, they pay for you to go on the field trip or do the field work, so you don't have to pay for it, which is obviously good. I mean, you're paying enough already, so why should you have to pay extra? But yeah, that's that, and they'll teach you whilst you're out in the field. Next, I want to jump back into the seminars again and talk a bit more about seminar reading. Seminar reading is often set literally at the beginning of term for all of your subjects. So you'll know well in advance, so you can schedule it into a timetable. Although I tend to leave it to the last minute because there's other things that I've got going on, so I don't really plan it very well. Sometimes seminar reading can be from like 5 pages to like 150 pages. It really varies massively and by subject. I can imagine with an English seminar, you'll probably have to read a whole book, but you're studying English, so you'd kind of expect to read a book, and that's probably what you enjoy doing. But for history, it's more reading a bunch of primary sources, a bunch of secondary sources, and then you kind of talk about all of those things together. So reading for seminars is a lot different to how you normally do some kind of like homework or something like that. You probably want to focus more on analysing it and thinking critically about the piece that you're reading about, although that's another topic for another video. So moving on. Let's talk about the actual work that you're going to be doing in university. So your work is going to be a lot more research based. You may have done projects such as the EPQ, or you may have done some coursework, and that would be more research-based and research-tailored, although it's not going to be as heavily researched as a university essay, per se. So for a university essay or report or anything like that, everything needs to be backed up. So you can't just write the Plantagenets were awful, because who said that? Where do you know that information from? You have to back everything up and say who said that. So it's always going to be sources upon sources upon sources, which drags a little, but it's not as bad as it may seem. Obviously, everyone gets through it, it's fine. Because if you don't do the research, it can then fall under the category of plagiarism, which no one wants to get into plagiarism. So that moves us nicely on to submitted work. So in Durham specifically, we have formatives and summatives. Formatives don't count towards your overall grade for your degree, but summatives do. And this will probably be the same throughout other universities as well, in terms of you'll probably have work that you have to submit, which they'll mark and they'll give you feedback, and that feedback can be used to really progress onto your other work, such as your summatives, where you can really progress, take on that feedback, and that will count towards your final grade. Obviously first year in a lot of universities doesn't count, although you'll still get summatives, and those summatives will go towards your first year mark, and you need to pass first year to get to second year. But don't worry about passing first year, because it shouldn't be too bad. Touch wood, I haven't done it yet. Submitted work can come in varying forms. Obviously you'll have essays, there can be lab reports, there can be research papers, there can be definitely other stuff. Some people have homeworks that they have to do each week. You may have to do translations or something if you do languages. In order to deal with all of this information, it's probably best off trying to schedule out everything. Personally, I was not given a timetable like I was in school. Obviously in school you kind of get given a timetable and it's like, okay, I have history here, geography there, PE, and like you knew when you had stuff and like where you were going. But especially with Durham, I know some universities give you a timetable like that, but I know in Durham they don't, so you have to write it down yourself and know where you're going. Obviously in like handbooks and stuff that they give you for each module, there'll be the times and places that you have to be. They're not gonna like expect you to just guess, because that's just ridiculous. So you will be fine in terms of that. So I really recommend getting a planner of some sort. This year I've been using Jack Edwards' academic planner, which has actually saved my life. But just any planner will do. Get something that you can write stuff down, especially for like extracurriculars, because there will be a lot and like you don't want to miss out on those. So get yourself on. A final thing to mention on the side of work and stuff like that is strikes, and they're not very common, although this year they have really impacted work in terms of lectures being cancelled, seminars being cancelled, things being moved, postponed. It's been a bit of a mess. So I just want to like give a warning that strikes may happen, although strikes will not affect you detrimentally in terms of stuff's not going to come up in the exams if a lecturer went on strike. So if a lecturer went on strike, it's not going to come up in the exam, at least with Durham anyway, and I'm pretty sure that's across the board for all of this strikes. Anyway, I hope that's given you a basic introduction to work in university and how it differs from school. It's not that big a step up from year 13. I feel like the step up from GCSE to year 12 was a lot bigger step than from year 13 to degree level. Obviously, a lot of people haven't done some of these subjects to start with, so they're trying to get everyone like up to speed, especially in first year, and then I feel like from first year to second year, they're really gonna like advance you. Obviously the way things have been done is a little bit different just because you're at university. I hope people have had a chance to look around universities. If they haven't, especially in Durham, like if you want to know anything about Durham specifically, send me a message, comment down below, and I will try and answer everything I can. If you did enjoy, please like the video. If you want to share this with your friends in isolation, please also do. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.